Hello, hello. So it has been a little while since my last upload. Um, yeah, about 4 months. I had a reason, but I don't want to go into that too much until the end of this video, so that we can just pick up where we left off. So last time I played, we were on, or at least last time I posted a video, we were on Ari's route, in somewhere in the middle of chapter 12. Okay. So I made good on my promise to go home and have something to eat, though I wasn't hungry at all. I almost walked to the lounge to maybe just be around other people, but I couldn't muster the energy and decided to spend time reading instead. Then I found I couldn't focus on what I was reading, so I decided to work on my personal report for the day. So, really quick, and for anyone who forgot, since it's been 4 months, um, Morgan had just gone on, I think it was her first mission, at least her first major one, and there was a bomb, and she didn't realize it till she was right next to it. And Ari got really mad at her for just jumping in without sort of exercising due diligence. It was difficult to parse my thoughts and feelings, but when it came to merely stating what had happened, that was easy. Or so I thought. But it wasn't quite as easy to do one without the other. The moment I started trying to explain what happened at the cafe, everything started coming back. The panic, terror, certainty I was going to die. But I struggled my way through it, so it would be over with. By the time I was finished, I was more on edge than expected. Jittery and anxious, I was considering going for a walk. But before I could get dressed to do that, the door chimed. It was almost a relief to sense Ari's presence in the hall. Curious and a little worried, I went to let him in. Every time I see Ari like this, he always reminds me of a waiter. I don't know why. I apologize for stopping by so late. It's alright. I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep for a while anyway. Would you like some tea? I'm alright. Come in, have a seat. I wanted to check on you, actually. It was a trying day. That's an understatement. Perhaps, which is all the more reason I wanted to make sure you were coping. Aw, he came by to make sure we were doing okay. I'm okay, I don't know. My thoughts are a bit of a jumble. I have been preoccupied with a singular thought all day. He clasped his hands tightly in his lap and stared at the floor. His brows drew together in a deep frown I was unaccustomed to seeing on his face. Yeah, normally Ari is very unexpressive. Like he definitely holds everything in most of the time. And what's that? After that incident at the cafe, the thought foremost in my mind has been how much would hate to lose you. Aw, that's so sweet. Of course, it's understood this job isn't without risk. It's never bothered me before. It was simply a fact of our all being a part of this organization. I have lost people before. It was disconcerting, but today, for the first time, I was truly afraid of losing someone. That's so sad if you think about it. Because, like, Ari grew up in Endgame, right? So he spent most of his life being a member of this organization. And it's really sad to think about the fact that, like, this is the first time in his entire, like, life, pretty much, that he has really felt attached enough to someone to be afraid of losing them. Yeah, I don't know. I just find that so sad. Hey, you're not going to lose me. Yet I can't seem to stop ruminating on how close I came to doing just that. Unsure what else to do, I pulled him into a tight hug. He stiffened briefly, then wrapped his arms around me and held me tightly, burying his face against my neck. I keep having this irrational fear I won't be able to protect you. It's okay, Ari. Morgan is, pretty much a badass. So at least, like, once she gets everything down, so, just give her a little more time. I can't bear the thought of losing you, Morgan. Okay, so we can either assure him he's not going to lose you or just hug him tighter. I think he needs some assurance at this point because he seems to be feeling very, like, unsure. He's in new territory, especially emotionally. You're not going to lose me, Ari. I'm not going anywhere. Today was my fault for being less cautious than I should have been. It didn't even occur to me that there might be something like an unexploded device. Well, Morgan, in all fairness, I don't think... I mean, I was gonna say I don't think she should have assumed that, but that's the whole reason they were there, because of the bomb. So maybe she should have been more cautious, but still. Lesson learned, be more cautious. I pulled away and gently took his face in my hands. I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I didn't realize how upset you even were until now. I've been so wrapped up in my own thoughts over this whole thing. You're way too good at hiding your feelings. It's not always healthy, you know? Yeah, but you can't really blame Ari, given what his childhood was like and how he's had to grow up because of his abilities and because of how powerful he was, you know? Especially when his powers first manifested and he had to learn how to control them. I don't feel like you can blame him for that, you know? Like, that wasn't his fault. I pulled him closer again and rested my forehead against his. But thank you for telling me how you feel, Morgan. I remembered what Vaughn had told me before about taking the opportunity when it was presented, not waiting. I don't know if Ari was thinking the same thing or what was going on in his head. But to my surprise, he pulled away from me. When I looked up at him, he leaned and placed a kiss to my lips. Something inside me broke in that moment. Maybe I just needed the comfort and closeness of someone else. I pulled him closer and kissed him back with a little more desperation than I think he expected. He made a soft noise in the back of his throat, but he held me tighter anyway. His hand cradled the back of my head. As I pressed close enough to him, I was half in his lap. I knew Ari was easily overwhelmed, but I was in such desperate need of this moment that I couldn't hold back anymore. There was a sharp intake of breath as he jerked his head back in surprise, but it was only for a second. He quickly moved back towards me, his mouth opening slightly as it covered mine again. I felt the gentle push of his tongue against mine, and butterflies stirred in the pit of my stomach as the kiss grew more heated. Maybe I wasn't the only one who'd been holding back. I mean, I think that's pretty clear, but I think Ari's made that clear for a while, you know, because of his unique situation. And we have a music change, so we know that we're probably gonna have a moment here. Ari's hands strayed from my head to my back to my waist, then back to my head, twining in my hair as he gripped my head again to kiss me more fiercely than before. His teeth scraped against my lower lip, giving it a surprising nip. This time, I was the one who startled into a gasp. Ari pulled away, panting. He looked at me through foggy eyes, face flushed and hair mussed. Is this okay? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. I moved in again, a little slower this time, and kissed his lips, then his jaw. He closed his eyes, his breath still coming rapidly as I moved to brush another kiss below his ear. His skin was warm, and there was the faint smell of his soap or shampoo. I felt his hammering pulse beneath my mouth and circled my tongue over the spot. Oh. His soft groan vibrated through me, and to my surprise, I found myself on my back with Ari bracing himself above me. I questioned whether we should do this, especially when I'd said only a day earlier that we would take it slow. I mean, I think as long as you're okay with it, Morgan, you know, you have to allow him some agency, and we can't treat him like a child and be like, oh, you're going to, you know, like, as long as she's okay with it, because I think they've known each other for several months at this point, I think. But I wanted it. I wanted it, and from the ragged need in his breath, I suspected he did too. Ari's eyes met mine, and his expression was so lost, searching, like he needed to find something, but didn't even know what he was looking for. I feel so bad for him. He leaned and placed a tender kiss to the hollow of my throat. It was soft and unsure, but my entire body jolted under the sensation of his lips against my skin and the weight of him pressing down against me. And we have a new CG, which is really pretty. I arched my head back and let out a soft whimper as rivers of heat spread through my body. I wanted to pull him closer and beg him for more, to somehow ease the raw need spiraling through me. But he ran a trembling hand down the side of my face, almost as if he was afraid he'd break me and I could only try to hold myself back. I don't know, I think we're much more prone to break this boy than he is with us. His mouth traveled lower over my collarbone and down to the curve of my breast as his fingertips lightly traced down my arm, then to my side and eventually came to rest against my ribcage. I shut my eyes, not wanting this to stop. Wherever things were headed, I wanted to see it through. I threaded my fingers through Ari's hair as he kissed the space above my heart and then looked up at me, again still wearing that lost expression. I don't know what to do. I don't know what you'll like. That's so sad and sweet. I feel like the fact that he's even asking, that he even cares enough to ask is better than the majority of the guys out here. So you're doing great, Ari. It's okay. I'll show you. But first, I propped myself on my elbows and hesitantly reached for his shirt. His eyes went wide as I tugged a button loose. Did he think we were doing this with our clothes on? But after a split second of hesitation, he pulled it off, and in typical Ari fashion, half folded it and set it aside. Oh, God. I'm gonna be real. I don't know how I'd feel if I was in the middle of making out with someone and they took the time to fold their shirt. Like, I don't know how I'd feel. Yeah. Like, I would probably feel like, I want you to be more in this moment with me. I laughed and leaned up to kiss him again. It was funny how that gesture sent another kind of warmth to the pit of my stomach. He was so him, and I was amazed by these feelings he stirred in me. Amazed by how a man who seemed so dispassionate could make me feel this way, or could look at me that way. I know, he doesn't show a lot of emotion, but I don't think it's fair for us to assume he's dispassionate. He just holds a lot of shit in because of his powers and stuff. And now that his chest was bare, I did something I'd been wanting to do since that first day I'd seen him sparring with Caleb. I still remember that CG. I ran my hands wonderingly over his skin from collarbone to waist, tracing the smooth muscles of his abdomen, evidence of years of training and all the effort he'd put into his work. He shuddered beneath my touch, releasing a shaking breath that tinkled with a groan in his throat. I watched his face as my hands skimmed across his stomach, eyes closed, lips parted, and hair falling across his forehead, cheeks flushed. There was a faint tremble as he exhaled. As strong as he was, there was a sort of fragility to him as well. The way he shook under my touch, the soft hissing moan that escaped when I ran my fingertips just inside his waistband, the soft panting breaths. Oop. Oh, okay. I was so afraid of hurting him. I wanted to hold him forever, to wipe away his uncertainties and my own. Ari let out another low, hissing groan as I leaned up to kiss his throat, then moved my mouth down his chest. A hand went to the back of my head as I sucked redness to the surface of his skin, somehow pleased with myself when I saw it, so we're giving him a hickey. And then my back was against the cushions again, Ari's body pressing me down into the sofa. He kissed me fiercely, hesitation replaced with urgency. A little moan escaped me, delicious shivers crawling down my spine at the shift in his demeanor. Ari's hands explored with more confidence now, tracing fire over my skin as fingers dipped to my navel, then slipped under my thin camisole. Okay, I think this is the same CG we saw earlier, just with shirtless Ari. His mouth found my ear, teeth gently tugging my earlobe, the sound of his ragged breath the only thing I could hear. I clenched my hands in his hair, biting my lip to stop myself crying out as his hands dared to slide higher, running little circles over my flesh from my stomach to the tips of my breast. He pulled away briefly, and this time my shirt made its exit. I flung it away and pressed another scorching kiss to his lips. The feeling of his body against mine sent heat shooting to every part of my body, and I finally took one of his hands and guided it to where I wanted him to touch me. I'm trying, okay. I might as well talk about this now. So, I've actually played through Ari's route. As I said, it's been 4 months. The whole reason I stopped posting videos was because I was having some health issues. I ended up with bronchitis for a month and a half, which I didn't even know that was a thing, that you could have bronchitis for that long, but I did. Long story short, I had to stop vaping. And, yeah, I wasn't able to speak, like, more than, but pretty much at all for over a month. So, but I wanted to continue playing Gilded Shadows, because because I have issues. So, I did continue playing, I just didn't make videos on it. I have played Arbor's route, Caleb's route, Kaisa's route, and, who was the last one? Oh, yeah, for some reason I'm blanking on his name. Magnus, I played his route. My favorite is Kaisa's, for the record. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Caleb, but it's been Kaisa so far. But I say all this to say that I've read through this once already, and I can't remember how explicit it gets. Like, if it's YouTube appropriate. So yeah, I do think I'm going to stop here and sort of peek ahead and see, how explicit it gets. I have experience reading stuff like this because I definitely so I was watching this video on YouTube the other day that was about like the omegaverse, which I didn't know a whole lot about that until I watched this video. And the person who made the video was reading like an excerpt from some of the most popular books that have been made based on that sort of lore. And wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was enlightening. So I mean, I guess it can get pretty explicit on YouTube. But then I do need to make sure that my video, like the settings for my video are in line with that. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna stop here. My hope is to get back to posting videos like once a day, but I am gonna be working up to that again because I still have some health issues that I'm working through, but that's the goal. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.